It's not just about, it tastes great and all that. You want to know how to eat it because there is a way to eat it. Make sure you wash the shit out of your watermelon. I'm telling you, unless you grew it yourself, make sure you wash the crap out of the watermelon. Sorry about the swear. I'm just going to say right now, okay? That is important, okay? Because it gets this is where the watermelon was laying. Look, here's an amazing tip right here. Here's where the watermelon was sitting, in the watermelon patch right there. Because it gets porous there, you're going to get dirt, you're going to get manure, you're going to get whatever they're using, whatever they're doing, it's going to be kind of there, okay? And so you're going to want to wash it good, right? Some good, unscented, natural soap of some kind. But you get in the sink and you wash your watermelon good. Another reason why you got to wash your watermelon good, if you're going to put it in your shopping cart, you don't know what's on the bottom of that shopping cart. Salmonella, E. coli, you name it. A lot of times, when the news, right, like when the news is like, there's a listeria breakout on this and this. Meanwhile, the listeria came from something sitting on top of something. That's really what it was. It's like there's listeria at the bottom of the shopping carts. People don't realize it. It's coming from all the meat products. That's what it is. And this isn't propaganda bullshit. I'm just saying that what I'm talking about, it's just the reality, whether anybody likes it or not. It's just all the chicken packs that have juices on the bottom, that cellophane wrap, and it's all over the bottom of the carts. It's everywhere. It's there. So you put your watermelon in, your watermelon's collecting it all. It's just anything's collecting it all. Now you bring your watermelon home, it's like, honey, I'm gonna crack open a watermelon. Are you okay with this? I feel like some watermelon now. Let me just take it right out. You know what I mean? Didn't even wash it. Didn't even wash the thing. I'm going to take it right out now. I'm going to cut that watermelon. I'm going to drive all that bacteria right into that watermelon. It is imperative you wash your watermelon. What's your favorite part of the watermelon? Is it this nice sweet spot right here? So I'm going to do this a little bit. I'm going to cut this nice sweet. Is this the spot you like the most? A nice sweet spot? Look at that. Is that your favorite spot on the watermelon? It's this one right here, just asking you guys. It's got the flavor, it's sweet, it's yummy. That's the one right there, right? See how I cut it right out of the center there? That's the spot everybody goes, this is good watermelon, right? That's the spot, okay? All right. So that's where the glucose mostly is comprised. It's where it's mostly located. That's the glucose right there. That is the critical glucose from the watermelon that goes to the brain, that goes to the liver. That's the glucose right there in the watermelon. It's right in this sector of the watermelon. How cool is this? This is information that's in Life Changing Foods, the book right there. So when you guys take a look at that. So look, here you go. That is the spot where the glucose is. That's part of the whole reason why our brain gets fed with sugar. That's the part that makes us feel good too, because that is the sugar part. Gives us the energy, gives us the strength. That's the glucose right there. Okay, so but wait a minute here. If you're somebody and you're only eating that part of the watermelon and only that, that's not a great idea. You want to eat more than just the sweet spot. You want more than that. You want to go into the next spot. That's where you want to go, where some of the minerals are, the bigger minerals. So let's go there now. All right, let's cut this up a little bit. We're going into it a little bit. Now, there's the midsection of the watermelon. There it is. There's the midsection. Check this out. Yep, there it is. Let's take that off. Boom, there it is. There's the midsection. You got to make sure you're eating that midsection of that watermelon. Letting you guys know, it's important. And I know some of you are like, oh, AW, I always eat the midsection of that watermelon, man. You're not teaching me nothing about eating a watermelon. I know what you're talking about there, but you got to eat that midsection. You know why? Do you know why? That's where the potassium is. Guess what? That's where the calcium is. That's right. That's where the potassium is. That's where the calcium is. that is where certain minerals, critical minerals are. And if you're only eating that first sweet spot I showed you, if you just got on here, you got to watch this from the beginning. If you're only eating that sweet spot, it's not good. You want to have that midsection. That's right. That's where the potassium is. That's where the calcium is. That is where critical minerals are. Very important, okay? And that's where all that sits in there. It is a big deal. So let's go a little bit deeper. Let's go a little bit deeper. Now, if you're eating your watermelon, you guys throw it out there. Do you throw it out? Is that where you guys throw out your watermelon? Right there? Take a look. You want to see it this way? How many times do you see that on somebody's plate right there? I've seen that on a lot of people's plate. Yeah, I ate watermelon. Yeah, I like watermelon. But look, it was in their plate just like that. Very interesting. Okay, keep in mind that right there is not a good thing. If you want to eat watermelon like that, of course you're welcome to, okay? But I'm just letting you know the sodium's next. We need the sodium. That's the next part. So guess what? We got to eat deeper there. We got to go deeper into the watermelon. Now we're in here, okay? So I'm doing a little bit of cutting, right? There we go. Let's see if I could do this right. Okay. There we go. I think I'm kind of a little bit off, but there we go. All right. Okay, I'm going to flip this over. That's where we got to go. We have to have that. You see a little bit of the white? That's the sodium. That's the sodium. The watermelon's designed so that when you eat it, you're going to eat it out of balance. If you don't partake in all three levels. There it is. All three levels. That's the third level right there. You see the white right here? Now that's the rind, of course, but you see the white right there? You don't have to eat the rind. You don't have to eat the watermelon rind. I know watermelon heroes out there, watermelon advocates out there, watermelon, fiends out there. They'll definitely eat it right down to the rind. They might even eat the rind. I don't recommend that. I don't. You don't need to. You don't have to. But you see this? Right there. We're talking about eating watermelon. Look at that. That is the third part. That's the base of the watermelon. That's where the sodium is. And this isn't like salt. This isn't like salt. That just, oh my God, the more and more I see people playing with salt out there, so bad for them. I'm going to show you my salt trick. Every single ad that pops up. It's like, I'm going to show you my husband, he couldn't, but now I did the 5-minute salt trick. Every second, it's like, if you're worried about weight on you, you know what I mean? Do this with salt. It's insane. Meanwhile, they're killing their brain and liver. You can't salt yourself. There's a reason why you can't drink ocean water. You'll die. You'll die. Go on a boat, leave your fresh water behind, start scooping buckets of ocean water for a few days, and find out where you're at. You can't handle the sodium. People can't handle it. But it's different. The sodium, trace mineral sodium right here, and the macro mineral sodium, completely different than this sodium that people are like downing, you know what I mean, on their food and so forth, or all the tricks they're trying to do to try to like dehydrate themselves. That's a whole nother game. This sodium you need. That's the sodium right here. Here's the midsection right there, the midsection. Remember? So I'm going to put it back together, okay? So let's put this back together. I might even grab a plate and put it back together in a plate if you don't mind. Let's see if I even have a plate. Whoa, yeah, I might have some plate. Take a look over here if I don't. Aha. Yeah, I do. All right, making some noise. I'm going to put this together for you right now, okay? See that right there? Here's the bottom section right there, okay? A little bit of a puzzle. That's where the sodium is. You don't want to leave your watermelon, okay? Where it's like that, you're done. You don't want to toss your watermelon like that. Okay, let's do the midsection right here. Look at that. There goes the midsection, okay? That's the part there, and I'm missing a piece. All right, let me see if I can put it together here. Oh, something like that. Okay, there you go. It's the midsection, and there's the glucose, the sweet spot. And there's the sweet spot right there. You're looking at the watermelon. So you're looking at the glucose right here. Don't stop there. A lot of people do. They just want that sweet spot, and then they throw the watermelon aside. Get that midsection. You want the midsection, you want your potassium, you want your calcium, right? And then boom, you see that bottom section here, right there, see that bottom section? That's where, okay, that's where the minerals are of salt, sodium, not toxic sodium, not, any kind of other sodium people are using for not just their food now. They're trying to dehydrate the crap out of their bodies. They don't realize that they're killing their brains playing all those, sodium games, right? So what you'll see here is a seeded watermelon. You guys know this, I'm sure. Seeded's better. Seeded is better. But if you can't get a seeded watermelon, you're still good. You're still good. Okay? Might be hybridized, but it's not GMO. It might be hybridized, but it's not GMO. Keep that in mind. You can do a seedless. Some people are like, I'll never do a seedless. No, they offer a lot. If it's all you can get, you get a seedless. If it's all you can get, that is an option. So keep that in mind. But look for seeded. That's the top dog. That's the top dog right there. Keep that in mind. I don't know if you've done this before, but you get into a picnic situation, you're eating hot dogs and hamburgers and cheeseburgers and, baby back ribs or whatever else you're eating. You're slurping down all that food, egg salad or whatever else that's at that picnic, and then, chocolate cake, corn on the cob drenched in butter, and then the watermelon comes out, and then you have the watermelon. Everybody has that slice of watermelon at the end, not at the beginning. They have it at the end. That is actually a mistake. Don't do that. If you're going to go to a picnic and you're going to eat watermelon, okay, this is a little fun tip. You want to start the watermelon at the beginning. So whatever you're eating, whatever your diet is, maybe you're somebody that eats like, a not so bad diet of some kind. Maybe it's a not so bad vegan diet. Maybe it's a not so toxic and bad animal protein diet, right? And that's how you're going to eat. You're still going to want to start the watermelon first. You're going to want to do that before, at the start of the picnic. One of the greatest, mistakes of history, long time history, is eating all that heavy fat and all that heavy, right, protein and fat and all that intense food, and then you're dropping a watermelon on top, and the watermelon's sitting on top of all that, and it's fermenting, and that's what people don't realize. So if you're going to go and you're going to eat at a picnic, and maybe it's not a picnic, maybe it's just something else, family gathering at home, whatever it is, and that watermelon's awaiting. It's awaiting, right? It's there. And yeah, you crack it open first, a little earlier, before everybody gets into the heavy stuff. You started out on that appetizer, make it the appetizer before you move into cheeseburgers and hot dogs and whatever else you're going to have at that cookout. Chicken, right? Maybe it's chicken. Maybe you're going to be throwing chicken on the grill or something at that family gathering. Whatever you're going to be doing. Maybe you're going to be eating something else. And what you have to know is, don't put the watermelon on after. Do not do that, because it's going to sit and it's going to be stuck and it's going to want to push. Watermelon is similar to papaya. It is a pusher. That's what it is. It is a pusher. So what happens when you're dealing with pushers, like this incredible fruit right here, it's going to want to push everything down, but everything's going to be stuck because your ribs and your chicken and your meat, or maybe you're vegan and it's some high fatty nut pie of some kind. It's just going to be stuck, and the watermelon's going to sit on top, and it's going to be waiting. And as it's waiting, it's going to kind of bubble up and bubble up and bubble up. And so eat it before. That's how the healing happens. Eat it early before you do all that. It's a great tip. It's a way to get watermelon to work for you, to help heal you. Mine too. What does watermelon do that nobody knows? It's got phytochemical compounds that have a softening agent for hard, packed fecal matter. It's got a softening agent built inside of it, phytochemical compounds that actually start to soften hard, packed fecal matter that is 50 years old, 20 years old, 10 years old, 40 years old, 5 years old. Hard, packed fecal matter, okay? So in our intestinal tract, what happens over the years because of all the stuff we're eating, all the intense gluten, all the intense undigested protein, all the intense fats that go rancid and solidify and become packed on the sides of the intestinal tract, all those things, including other stuff too, that gets caught in the elbows. You know where the elbows are, you guys? You're looking at them. There they are. The elbows are all through here. Elbow, 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 elbow. There's elbows everywhere. You see all these elbows right here? And all that fecal matter gets trapped in there. And then as the years go on, it's not just weight gain someone gets, right? They're getting fecal matter buildup. So they start getting bloated. They start getting distension. They start getting, right, extended, right? They start getting that because a lot of the times they'll have the fecal matter that built up over time, pork that was in there from a pork sandwich, a pork chop from bacon a long time ago. People are like, I ate bacon 10 years ago. Yeah, it's still there. It's still there. Be like, hey, I don't eat bacon anymore. No way, man. It's still there. I haven't had ham in, I don't know, years. It's still there. Most likely it's still there. It's in an elbow somewhere. It is. This has nothing to do with whether you're plant-based or animal protein. It has nothing to do with that at all, actually, okay? There's a lot of vegan foods that still can be in the crux of those intestinal tract corners. Plenty of vegan food, plenty of high-fat vegan food, okay? Lots of different nut options, all kinds of stuff like that. Lots of bean curd, lots of bean rot that just gets caught in the elbows. So if you're doing vegan, does it mean you're free from that? And if you're doing vegan, does it mean you got rid of that? That you got rid of your old bacon, that your old ham that's been, all stuffed in the corners right there of your small intestinal tract and so forth, okay? So, watermelon has phytochemical compounds, agents that soften old, corroded fecal matter, impacted fecal matter that's hardened and encased in the elbows of the small intestinal tract, in the elbows, all around, okay? You can pick your elbow. It could be in there. Most likely it is. And there's all kinds of stuff in there from years and years of eating all kinds of stuff, including dairy. Dairy actually collects all on the inside of the elbows and hardens. You didn't know that. You're eating dairy, ice cream, you're eating butter, whatever it is. You think that that's not going to do it, but it does because it loses that emulsification, right? It loses that. It actually gets hard as it's going down. It gets hardened along other fecal matter and gets basically embedded in there. So either way, same thing with vegan ice creams that have all kinds of garbage in them. The same thing there. They could end up all trapped in there with old ham bits and old bacon bits from 20 years ago and so forth. Fecal matter that's sitting there, gut rot that's been there for a long time, low HCl in the stomach, you couldn't break down the proteins, you couldn't break your low bile in your liver, you couldn't break down the fats. That's right, everybody on that high-fat diet, everybody's on a high-fat diet. Their gallbladders turn to shit. Their livers turn to shit as time goes on because the high-fat diets, whether it's animal or vegan, I don't care. Plant-based or vegan, animal, vegetarian, plant-based, vegan, animal, vegetarian, I don't care. What happens is your liver can turn to shit over time from that high-fat, high-fat, high-fat. Everything starts to harden up. Everything sits along the intestinal tract, the walls, and guess what watermelon does? It's a softening agent to the trapped fecal matter that sits in the elbows of the small intestinal tract and the colon. And that's what happens when you're eating watermelon. But wait. We've got to talk about that a little bit. You want to pace yourself when you're eating watermelon. If you have a half a watermelon in a day, pace yourself. If you have a whole watermelon in a day, probably a little too much for one day. Definitely a little too much for one day. Because you want to pace yourself when you're loosening that stuff, that fecal matter that's trapped. You want to pace yourself because under that fecal matter lies an old dirty secret or lies things that are under there. And what's under there is bacteria That's right. All the bacteria sitting behind that fecal matter, and you're doing watermelon to heal. You want to soften up that fecal matter and get it out. But all the bugs, many of them, lots of bacteria, sit underneath that fecal matter and are impacted in there in that fecal matter. Okay? So what happens if you want to do a lot of watermelon and you're just living off of watermelon, what could happen is you could have a blowout. So then you're softening up all the fecal matter. You're softening it, softening. It's starting to break free, and then they come out right there. They come out. And your immune system might be already kind of weakened, already struggling for all kinds of reasons, and they come out. So what you do is you pace yourself with watermelon. You don't live off watermelon unless it's the only food you have. If it's the only food you got, yeah, live off of it. Survive, live off of it. It's a healing food, without a doubt. But you want to pace yourself, so you don't want to be cranking that watermelon to the point where you're living off of it every single day. You're eating a whole watermelon every day, and that's all you're eating. Hey, I want to do a watermelon cleanse. You know, you got to be careful, because what's going to happen is you're going to break free a lot of stuff. You're going to overwhelm your immune system. It's not going to be able to keep track of all that loosened, jarred bacteria, and then you might get some bloating, some cramping, some distension. You might get some of that when you're doing that kind of watermelon. You know, you're doing watermelon, whole watermelon every single day. You might get that bloating and that distension because you're breaking free that strep and that E. coli and that C. diff. And watermelon has the ability to do a flushing agent, like a flushing action, where it flushes out a lot of that. So it's flushing out the fecal matter, right? But it's a lot of bacteria that a lot of people have deep inside of them, a lot of it. And so you want to pace yourself. You want to eat a little bit of watermelon every day. How about that? When watermelon season hits, you eat a little bit of watermelon every day. That's how you do it. That's the best way to do it, so you maximize your healing benefits. Simple as that. So if you want to eat too much watermelon, okay? A couple of things happen when you're eating too much watermelon. Keep in mind, it's a fecal matter softening agent, just like I just talked about. It could be quickly moving some fecal matter away, softening it, okay? And when it does that, now you're getting other material right on the base of the small intestinal tract. Some people have something that's hard. It's hard and clay-like at the bottom of their stomach. So there's this, like, right at the bottom of the stomach, okay, right here before it goes down to the duodenum. A lot of people have this little divot where that stomach is. So let's talk about that for a second too. Let's see if I can get the stomach out without this whole thing just falling apart and falling on top of my watermelon, which I don't know. I don't like that. Okay. All right, so we got a stomach here. So at the bottom of the stomach, keep in mind, all right, at the bottom of the stomach is going to be this little spot where there's a divot, where there is a crater. That spot is there for people who have overeaten for too many years. I'm guilty of overeating. I'm guilty of overeating sometimes. If I'm like really hungry and it's really good food, I'll push it to the limit. But it's a lot of people overeat many times in their life. Maybe not anymore. Maybe they did it 10 years ago. Maybe they overate 20 years ago. But either way, there becomes this pouch at the bottom of the stomach. The pouch, okay, makes kind of like a spot where stuff can collect that doesn't get emptied. And it becomes like a clay at the bottom of the stomach. And that doesn't get emptied. Now you're eating too much watermelon. Say you're eating too much watermelon, and the watermelon is putting pressure on that clay spot, that divot. And it's loosening it up too. It's actually, which is not a bad thing, but either way, it's going to be really uncomfortable, and just even a little bit of it will be uncomfortable. Okay, so let's hit the next part of it. If you don't have that going on, then guess what? You might have something else going on. You might have low HCl. If you eat a lot of watermelon and you fill your entire stomach up and you stretch your stomach up and it's going like this. It's stretching, okay? You're stretching your stomach, you're stretching it, it's getting like this because you're putting all that watermelon in and it's got nowhere to go yet, okay? What happens is, as it's stretching, your HCl can't really work much anymore. It gets so diluted. You do need a little bit of HCl. You do. Even with watermelon. Watermelon's kind of a pre-digested kind of thing. When melons have a little bit of a pre-digested angle to it, but you still need a little bit of HCl. But what happens, you dilute your gastric juices to such a degree because you're putting so much watermelon in, because it's not like something else. You know, at Thanksgiving, you have a turkey leg, right? You know, maybe a piece of a turkey leg. Maybe you have a little bit of turkey breast. But, you know, you're not like, well, I mean, Thanksgiving's a bad example. I mean, people will just stuff themselves till they need a couch. And, you know, a lot of people pop their guts on Thanksgiving too, where they're in the emergency room because they literally pop their guts, like, you know, hernias and there's, you know, everything else, because they eat so much and they have all that cranberry sauce on top of it and that pumpkin pie on top of their, you know, and the stuffing and everything else, right? Anyway, the point is, when you're doing, get me back on track, please, quick. And then what happens is you're stretching the stomach is what you're doing. You're eating a lot of watermelon. It's got nowhere to go, so it pushes down into the duodenum, and now the duodenum is stretching and filled, and your stomach's filled. And you're going to be like, oh my God, I'm getting a bellyache from eating too much watermelon at once. And then the top of your small intestinal tract is going to be getting stretched and filled too. The small intestinal tract behind this colon right here, that's going to be stretching out, and that's going to be filled. So now you got pressure on your small intestinal tract and your duodenum and your stomach, because you're able to consume so much watermelon at one time, and you can't help it. It tastes so good. You know, you can't help it. So you're eating it all at one time. That's a reason all on its own. There's other reasons too.